You are about to enter Chuck versus the podcast, the place for people who love Chuck and the people who work on Chuck. The only show that takes you behind the scenes with the stars.
Yvonne Strahovski.
Zachary Levi.
Joshua Gomez.
Ryan McParland.
Adam Balda.
Sarah Lancaster.
Contests.
We are giving away a Chuck press kit.
The directors.
Jason Ensign. Norman Buckley.
The guest stars.
Steve Austin.
Kristen Group.
Conventions.
Lights come up, and here comes Jester out on stage.
Set visits.
This is the guy right here.
And much more. Are you ready? This is Gray.
This is Mel.
This is Liz.
And we want to welcome you to Chuck versus the Podcast, episode 83 for Thursday, March 3rd, 2011. This week we have a special episode because we're going to talk about the ratings. Well, okay, we do that every week, but we're going to talk about them in an extended way this week with, dare I say, even a little bit of inside knowledge. And so I really think that you're going to love our discussion. And also, we have a great episode of Chuck to discuss. So let's get this news out of the way. Let's get right to the ratings. In the ratings news, what is, of course, not news is that, well, it is kind of news. Chuck versus the First Bank of Evil remained steady for the fifth week in a row at 1.7 in that famous adults 18 to 49 demo with 5.3 million very loyal viewers. Boy, I said it last week, take a lickin' and keep on ticking. These 5.3 million viewers are glued to their TVs every Monday night at 8 o'clock, and that is awesome. They don't budge. They don't budge for Valentine's Day. They don't budge for inclement weather. That's great. However, 1.7 is still not where we'd like to be, and we'll talk about that in more detail in just a little bit. But we do want to remind you our slogan that we've been talking about is stand up and be counted. This is particularly if you are in the United States. If you're not a Nielsen family, but you want your viewership to count toward Chuck's ratings, you can join Reward TV at rewardtv.com, then log in and answer a short questionnaire about the episode and the commercials that aired during the episode. Reward TV is a Nielsen outlet, and the information they gather is reported back to the networks. And just as we said last week, it's not part of the initial ratings that come out on Tuesday, but the information does go to NBC, and NBC does care about this kind of information. As well, they also care about the numbers at NBC.com and other online sources. Hulu.com is partially owned by NBC, I think. Yep. So
for now.
For now, yeah. So all of those things do count. But we received an email just before our podcast recording last week. It didn't make into our recording last week, but it does fit with what we're talking about this week. I've been talking a lot, and I'm probably going to talk a lot later. Do one of you two guys want to take this email?
I can do it.
Sure. Cool.
This is from Kat M. And she writes to say, last summer I went on a vacation out in LA. I learned something that I thought was interesting. One thing I was most anxious to do was take the Warner Brothers tour. I went on the deluxe tour, which is 5.5 hours long and a lot more expensive than the VIP tour, which is 2.5 hours. Unfortunately, we didn't see any of the cast. We really wanted to see the Bymore set, but they were filming there that day, so it wasn't available. We did, however, see the courtyard/apartment and the cage from the Bymore. Also, we got to actually go inside Steve Bartkowski's cabin, but it wasn't furnished. We saw Captain Awesome's statue when it was made, except missing the head. That would have been fun.
Mm-hmm.
Our tour guide, Dean, was really knowledgeable and has worked around the WB lot for many years. And one thing that I thought was very interesting was the topic of product placement. This is the reason I believe the Bymore is still around. I'm sure everyone is aware that the iPhone being practically a co-star on the show. And also, even though they aren't mentioned in the end credits, there are many other products that pay to be shown on the show. If Zach leans on something or actually handles a product, think the Tide to-go stick, the company pays extra. The majority of the products on the shelves of the store are empty boxes. Think of Adam or the Rowan Montgomery character stacking the room vacuum cleaners. Even the Chase ATM by the front door at the Bymore is product placement. So personally, if it keeps it on the show, it keeps the show on the air, go for it. overall, Kat says, I feel the deluxe tour is worth the time and money. I made sure the tour guide knew which show I liked and even called the person in charge of filming locations for Chuck to try to get us in. Also, other things that are on the VIP tour, including a car museum with the Nerd Herder and costume museum with an entire floor of Harry Potter props and Zach's Nerd Herder uniform. That's actually in the regular tour as well. And she says, I hope you find this interesting. Thank you for writing in, Kat. It actually gives me the perfect opening to talk about something that I haven't really had the opportunity to discuss. I was informed at the end of last summer, when we found out that the Weimar was still going to be around, that was not a decision made by the showrunners. They were informed that they had to keep the Weimar. And this is why, because of product placement. They can fund a lot of the production costs of the show just from having the Weimar there. As Kat says, they can have somebody stacking a product, even if it's just in the background, but especially if it's a character that's actually saying some lines and is featured, they get a nice chunk of change for doing that. And that in turn makes the show profitable for Warner Brothers right now, which makes it easier for them to give NBC a discounted rate, a discounted licensing fee, and to keep it on the air. So that's one of the factors that goes into the decision to renew is the licensing fee. And if product placement helps Warner Brothers make enough money that they can offer NBC a lower licensing fee in hopes of making the money back in syndication, then there you go.
Yeah. And this is new for me. I mean, we've been doing this podcast for a long time, and we've always known, like, about the subway when they hold the sub right up to the camera. Like, you say, well, obviously that's product placement. But I never realized the Chase bank machine, when they pick up a DVD off the shelf, I mean, it happens all the time. That company pays for that. Now, of course, if they pick up a Warner Brothers DVD, that's probably a different thing. But there are tons of products that they interact with that we don't really connect with, and every single one of them pays. Now, I don't know what that represents in ratings points, but just to translate it a little bit, Chuck is getting 1.7 every week. Say it's up against a show that's getting 1.9, but has none of this product placement stuff. Who knows? That 1.7 plus the product placement might actually equal more than that 1.9. So that's part of the way that the studio and the network look at the dollars and cents of Renewal. So that is one huge factor, and thanks so much for I think that extra special tour is what, $750?
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, so I appreciate the fact that she went through that for us, for our benefit, so that we can learn about that very, very important factor with regards to Renewal. I did want to discuss syndication again, because I think syndication is something that's not well understood by a lot of people. Hence, we continue to get a lot of questions on Twitter and other places about syndication and why. Just a little refresher is that, as most of us know, Chuck is actually produced by Warner Brothers, and then Warner Brothers charges NBC a licensing fee to be able to air it on their network. So NBC essentially buys Chuck from Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers, because they produce it, they typically get a lot of the advertising, like the DVD sales and things like that are all Warner Brothers. So that's why a lot of people have said that it's not as likely for a show to be renewed if it's not produced by the same network. Say, for instance, Heroes, as an example, was produced by NBC and it was aired on NBC. And so they had a lot more vested interest in that particular show. But there are a couple of huge factors that do come in play. And that's that Warner Brothers, when they have enough dollars and cents, they can offer Chuck very cheaply to NBC. So with the one we just discussed is a great reason. If they're making a lot of money off of this product placement, then they can afford to offer it more cheaply to NBC. As well, syndication basically means that once they hit a certain number of episodes, which will happen during the 5th season, they can package all of those episodes together and they can resell them all over again. Warner Brothers can resell them all over again to other networks. So NBC gets the first run, and then Warner Brothers can sell it and get a whole pile more money from another network to air it in syndication Monday to Friday or weekly throughout the year, however they want to air it. They're smaller networks, but they pay a lot of money. And so when Warner Brothers knows that just by producing a few more episodes, they can hit this point where they can bundle it all together and sell it again and get a whole pile more money, they can say to NBC, we're going to offer you, Chuck, for peanuts for season 5. Just put it on the air so that we can get it to that syndication point. And they got so much money coming that they can afford to do that. So syndication is a huge issue. What does that translate into ratings? Again, the 1.7 thing is another 2/10 of a rating, or is it 3/10 or 4/10? We don't know, but it's a big factor. And then another thing that we've talked about week after week is that it's about the pond. With Chuck having a 1.7, that doesn't look that great until you start to compare to Undercovers on NBC, which tanked and got canceled. You compare that to The Cape, which tanked and got canceled on the same night. Or actually, sorry, didn't get canceled yet, but we fully expect that. What's that?
It's coming.
It's coming. I mean, it went down to what? It was it down to 1.1, and that's right next to Chuck. In other words, the same night, you'd expect that viewers would be fairly similar between those two time slots. They just left NBC when Cape came on the air. So the fact that it continues to remain at 1.7 despite Valentine's Day, despite weather and all that kind of thing, means that this 1.7 is a very, very solid 1.7. It's not going to tank like The Cape. It's not going to tank like another new show that they have no idea how it's going to do. It's going to keep that same 5.3 million viewers over and over and over again. And that's what numbers people like. Numbers people like consistency. And so even when you factor in, and we're going to talk a little bit about the negative factors here, everybody says, well, Comcast is a wild card. When they come in, if NBC can show them solid week after week after week, consistent millions of viewers, that looks good. Comcast is a wild card. That means that nobody, Fedak and Schwartz can't predict with certainty what's going to happen. It's a wild card, but these kinds of things do look good for them, the dollars and cents. The other thing, maybe Mel and Liz, you know a bit more about these other shows, Dancing with the Stars and also the NCAA is going to be happening on Monday nights. How is that going to impact, Chuck?
Well, I know that Dancing with the Stars always has an impact.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that there is any kind of an overlap in the viewership, but it does have an impact. NCAA, since Chuck does skew male, that might have an impact, but that's a pretty short-term thing. That's only going to have, and Chuck's going to be off the air on the first Monday in March, so I don't know that we're going to see much of an impact from that. What we are going to see an impact from on March 14th is the daylight savings time.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens on the 13th.
Yeah.
And that's across the board. You remember last year?
Oh, yeah. Last year was huge.
Everything got hit. Like Chuck actually on Monday night had the lowest percentage drop in viewers, and it was like 10%.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the lowest drop of the night across all of the networks and all of the shows. And it kept the residual effect of the time change went through, I think through Thursday of that week.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a big difference. Daylight savings time does.
Yeah. But again, it's all relative. So, as we saw with Valentine's Day, every other show, I mean, House dropped 22% that night. Every other show dropped majorly, but Chuck stayed steady. So my prediction is that it would stay. I mean, it will see a dip that night, but I don't think it'll see as much of a dip as the other shows. Now, what do you guys think about this? I was thinking about this a little bit. And, I mean, Chuck has had as many as 8 million viewers for an episode. And gradually, we've seen a bit of pruning happening over the last 3-4 seasons. My feeling, looking at these numbers, is that we've been pruned to a very loyal 5.3 million viewers. That, say, for instance, last year with the daylight savings time, say the 6.5 million might have included 1 million of sort of iffy people that might cause a dip down to 5.5. But now we're at this core 5.3. Do you think we're going to be affected as much? I don't think so. What do you guys think?
I don't think so. No, I think you're right. I think this is a solid, loyal. Word is always getting out, starting, the wee small hours of Sunday morning or Monday morning. Watch Chuck. Chuck is, the countdown begins so many hours. So with all that going on, social networks, everybody's talking to everybody else. You're going to watch Chuck tonight. I don't think it will see what we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
I think we may see like a slight dip, but not it'll bounce back.
Yeah.
I think we like you said, I think the 5.3 million viewership is, and actually I would raise that up to 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think this week was just a little bit low for what we've been seeing.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to bounce between 5.3 and 5.5,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the bottom. And the other couple 100,000 viewers are watching it on DVR later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so to start to wrap up the discussion of the ratings, I would say something that we haven't really talked about before. But I'm going to say, I'm going to venture out a little bit and say what I feel the barometer is or what my predictions are. And my prediction is that if we were to stay at 1.7, with a possible 1 week dip with daylight savings time to 1.615, but get back to 1.7, maybe some weeks a little higher to balance that out. My prediction is roughly 75% chance renewal. I think if we go to 1.6 more than once, that changes drastically. I would say down to 40%. If it goes down to 1.5 more than once, I'd say it's really bad, down to 25%. By contrast, if we go up to about 1.9, I'd say it's a shoo-in, 90% chance renewal. Would you guys say that those numbers are around what you would think?
Given the information that things I've been told from network and studio, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
So what that translates into is that we cannot rest on our laurels. 75% chance. I mean, it's good, but it's not where we'd like to be. And so a lot of us are on Twitter, especially those who listen to the podcast. I would urge you to use other social media and other ways of spreading the word. For what happens with a lot of us is that the people who are on Twitter are already going to watch on Monday night. I think once we get to our Facebook friends and email and our coworkers and our family members, there we get into the areas of people that might not already be watching that night. And so I urge us to spread the word among our sphere of personal influence as best as we can. I don't think that a campaign right now is what's needed. I think that as long as we stay with this 1.7 and urge the people around us to get this up to maybe a 1.8 or a 1.9, I think that's far, far more important than any letters or any other thing that we could be doing that's flashy. We don't need the flashy stuff. We need the consistent ratings.
I agree.
Yeah.
I have just a fun thing that developed this week for me. I'm starting my thesis. I had to turn in my proposal today, actually. And I'm working, it's a sociolinguistics project, and I'm using Chuck and some of the language from the show and from the fans, doing some analysis of that as my master's thesis. And I was talking to my thesis director and about it, and he said, now, you're going to need to let me see this show so I know what you're talking about. I've never seen Chuck. I was like, right on. Buy another set of DVDs, and it's a legitimate school expense, and get him hooked on it. I think he's really going to get a kick out of it. So, you never know where that's going to come from, where a chance to get somebody else hooked on the show is going to come from. So I just was enjoying that.
Yeah.
But yes, it's not time to do some big, we have some ideas for closer to decision time, closer to when the network is going to decide for sure whether to give Chuck that 5th season. We have some ideas of things that fans can do to campaign, and really let Comcast know what NBC already knows, that we want the show. We want another season. But it's too early. It's too early. Right now, we need to focus on keeping that 1.7 as our low point, quite frankly. It's good that we've been steady when everything else is dropping or just being really unpredictable. NBC, that's good, but we need to get that up to a 1.8 or a 1.9, really. And then another thing that we want to encourage you guys to do is, when you see a product integrated into the show, let the advertiser know. If you buy that product, let them know that you did it because you saw it on Chuck. Yeah. Give them that direct feedback, and let them know that was money well spent. Not only did I see your product and buy it, I did it because you put it on this specific show. Are the fan base that will respond to that. I'm not saying if, somebody advertises, I don't know, that no nonsense pantyhose are perfect for robbing a bank, and you actually don't have a need for pantyhose, that you should go out and buy 20 pair. But, you work in an office, you need a hose. Yeah. Buy that brand and let them know, hey, I saw this on Chuck's head and I thought it would look good on my legs. And the way these marketing departments work, it doesn't take many emails to let them know they're making a difference. 1 or 2 or 3 emails is cause for, for them saying, hey, this is working. Yeah. It's cause for them to let their supervisor or their manager or their higher up know that campaign worked. Yep. That product placement worked. So yeah, we encourage you to do that. And along those lines, we Liz, you have your. I do. Got the little sleep sheet. Baby Clara's sleep sheet. It's so fluffy, I could die. So cute. And it really is fluffy and soft. And soothing. Very soothing. And where did we see those before? I had never seen anything like this before. I've heard of soothing, like white noise for sleep, but I'd never seen it integrated into a cute little stuffed animal before. But you're the one with the child. Maybe you have. Yeah. I wish they had these when my kids were this small. Yeah. But we did see them on Chuck. Yep. Baby Clara and Jeff. Yep. Put to sleep with the sleep sheet. Yeah. So again, we want to encourage you, if you're of a mind and of a need to do something, to purchase an item like this one, you should do it and let the company know that you're doing it because you saw it on Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are somebody who needs a sleep sheep, if you have a little one in your life, or if you just need a good night's sleep and you have noisy neighbors, we have a deal for you. Cloud B, the company who makes the sleep sheep, is offering Chuck fans a 50% discount through the month of March. And this is an exclusive discount. It is just for Chuck fans. This is a way for them to really measure what kind of an impact they're having. You saw our post last week about the sleep sheep, and they contacted us and said, hey, would you be interested in a discount? And it's 50%.
Yeah, that's big.
I'm getting another one.
Yeah, are you?
Awesome. I am.
Yeah, may as well at that rate. So all you have to do is go to facebook.com/cloudb, their Facebook page, and like Cloud B on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then comment on their wall that you saw the sleep sheep on the February 21st episode of Chuck, and they will send each person who does that an exclusive 50% discount code for the sleep sheep for use on their website. And I checked today, or on Tuesday. It went live on Tuesday, and I checked at the end of the day, and they were already, it was already off the page, the number of people that had responded. So right on, go Chucksters. Yeah, this offer is only good during the month of March. So you want to take the opportunity now to show Cloud B and NBC and Comcast that you notice and appreciate their support of Chuck. And as we said before, product placement is a vital part of funding Chuck. And we want the advertisers in the network to know that we'll respond to it if it means we'll get another season.
Yeah. So. And just to anticipate some questions, I know, I went on and I liked on Facebook and commented about February 21st. And now I'm in Canada, and apparently they don't ship internationally from the manufacturer's website, but you can still like the Facebook group and comment there. That does make a difference if you're an international fan. And then if you have a chance to buy a sleep sheep elsewhere at a local retailer, you can let them know. So you can still use this to support Chuck, just not through their website if you're an international fan.
And
yeah,
also,
go ahead.
They do not come with the Nerd Herd T-shirt.
The Jester shirt.
Yeah.
They don't come with the Jester shirt.
Yeah.
Or the song. They don't
the
come
song.
with
No.
Yeah, cover song.
But the little thingies in the back that you could play the different sounds.
Yeah. And
really
just
cute.
Yeah, just before we put the ratings topic to bed, the other thing, internationally, of course, you can't be part of the US numbers for Nielsen. Other countries do have other ways of measuring. I believe in Canada, there's a fairly similar rating system. But these other ways to support are the best way that you can do that. Buy Chuck DVDs is always good. But any way that you can support retailers and also help spread the word, especially specifically like this for products, just to let the advertisers know that you did see this on Chuck. Those are great ways to help out the effort.
Yeah, sure. The advertiser doesn't care where you live as long as you're buying their product.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. Sing it from the mountaintops.
Yeah.
Or your rooftops if you don't live near a mountain.
Yeah. And speaking about singing.
Speaking about singing.
Nice.
Did y'all catch Zachary Levi singing in the Oscars on Sunday? I did.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Well, I mean, not at the time, but I did later. But we won't go there. He was terrific, though.
Oh yeah.
I had no idea that he could sing. I didn't know. Sorry, Zach. Didn't know. Anyway, but yeah, we got a little melty in the way he looked. He looked at Mandy.
Yeah.
As they were singing, and Mandy Moore, of course, is a co-star in Tangled, and the Smoller, it looked like it definitely worked for him that night. So you can watch the performance again and again and again and again on ChuckTV.net, courtesy of ZacharyLeviFan.com.
Mm-hmm. And, a lot of people were saying that it was a disappointing Oscar night. A lot of people, now, of course, these are Chuck fans, but a lot of people said that song was one of the best parts of the evening.
It was. CNN and MTV both put it on their top 10 list.
Yeah.
For the entire night.
Yeah.
So nicely done, Zach and Mandy.
Very,
Beautiful,
very nicely done.
romantic song.
It was. I really love that Zach did not wear a suit coat for the performance.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed very Chuck of him to come out without, with just the vest.
Yeah, it was very classy, actually.
It was.
Yeah. Speaking about classy. Okay. I always try to find some kind of segue. Well, hey, Vivian is classy. I think Vivian is very classy. But we're going to talk about the episode of Chuck versus the First Bank of Evil. Yeah. And online, there were some mixed opinions about the episode. Again, similar to last week. I would say most people really liked it. I loved the episode. I think one of the biggest things is that, just as we mentioned last week, Vivian is being introduced in a fairly understated way. They're giving her time to simmer into the story, and that didn't work for some people. For some people, it did. What did you guys think?
Mel, you take it first.
I like how they're introducing her. It feels more organic to be bringing her in this way, kind of easing her into it. We're getting to see some parallels between her and Chuck. Chuck at first did not see the intersect as a gift. Mm-hmm. And was mistrustful of the CIA and the NSA, and Vivian is the same. She's not seeing her father's legacy as a gift, and she's mistrustful of the CIA. She's being given some incorrect information. She's being played by Ray Wise, which is not his name on the show. That's his real name. I cannot remember the lawyer's name. Riley. She's being played by Riley. And it's causing her to really, really question Chuck and his motives and the CIA's motives. Unfortunately, General Beckman threw him under the bus by reneging on that promise to let her see her father. But I see a lot of similarities between the two of them, and I like that they're doing it, and they're doing it so in Chuck's world, slowly. Mm-hmm. They're doing it slowly. I mean, we know these episodes usually have 3 episodes worth of stuff in one. Mm-hmm. So, we've only had her around for 2 episodes, and we know a fair amount about her, but we still are left wondering about a lot, including her motives, including her future, her plans, her schemes, if you will, when we finish out this episode.
Yeah.
I keep hoping that when all is said and done, at the end of the arc, she'll just turn out to be good. Just kind of, maybe she could be Volkov's Achilles heel, to where she could just totally and completely, once and for all, destroy him, lawyer and all. I mean, there would be no chance of resurrecting him through the legal system or anything. So I'm going to stick with that because I like her. I still like her. I think that she was so uncertain of what she wanted to do in her future, and everything that happened to her. Riley was feeding her just the right amount of planting the bad seeds that at just the right time. And then just what happened in the episode with Chuck having to not be able to get her to see her dad just kind of watered that seed. And it's inevitable. I mean, what would you do if you were in her position? She sees these pictures of her dad that her dad had kept. She's touched. And, she wants to see her father. And ask her these questions herself, ask him these questions herself, and find out she's being used. I don't know. I all in all, I felt sorry for her, and I do feel sorry for her. So that's why I'm hoping for a happy ending for her.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think last year everybody had a complaint that things were moving too quickly with Shaw and Sarah in particular. One of the biggest complaints was how fast it moved, and it wasn't believable. I really like that they're taking their time with this and letting it breathe.
Yeah, I do too. I also like that they're not screwing around with the potential love interest.
Yes.
It's pretty obvious. I mean, some people raised some eyebrows when she hugged him, but that was purely platonic and out of gratitude from what I saw. And, most of the responses I saw to those questions were, it was out of gratitude. I didn't see anything suggesting that she was meant to be a love interest for Chuck at all. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Especially when we have such wonderful scenes of the two, Chuck and Sarah, bantering while robbing a bank.
Oh, yeah.
About their wedding.
Delightful stuff.
Sarah's just, so sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Moment when she found the dress. But that was so sweet. So well done by Yvonne.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so somebody made a comment that scene has been done in every rom-com, but she did it better.
She made it look unique. She made it look fresh. It was really sweet. And, as a fan of Clueless and a person who perpetually is in the closet trying to figure out what in the world I'm going to wear, I am so envious of her software program and her spa down in Castle.
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah, shoes and all.
Yeah. And the bullet holes were a nice touch.
And
she didn't
Casey
care
when she come in when she's trying it on.
Uh-huh.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I like how that those bullet holes just didn't they didn't bother her. She was so happy by then. I like it when she's allowed to be a girl.
And then she finally, once she finally gets into the whole wedding thing, hits woo island and and the flowers and the cake and wow, and Emily's just standing there going and Chuck, bless his heart, I work at the Buy More. You do not. You lie. But that was an amusing way to reassert its cover.
And just back at the bank before we leave that one scene, I thought that, like, the last time I saw that particular kind of energy was Honeymooners. I mean, just that delight as she's like shooting the machine gun and talking about her wedding and the gleeful smile on her face, and it was just a delight to watch.
Yeah,
and Chuck calling her Honey Bunny in our Pulp Fiction little shout out. Yeah.
Speaking about shout outs, we had a couple of Lost shout outs.
Yes.
Everybody's saying that we finally know what the numbers mean. They were Volkov's bank number, even though apparently one of the numbers is not exactly the same.
Close enough not to be a coincidence. So.
Yeah, close enough not to be a coincidence. And then we go to the bank and we have the doctor from Lost.
The Dharma Initiative, yeah.
Yeah, Dharma Initiative. So that if for all of us Lost fans, those were nice little touches.
Yeah, that was clever. I wonder if they, after they cast him as that character, if that's when they decided to make those numbers the account number.
Could be.
I bet they just couldn't resist,
Yeah.
And then, and we had Chuck and Sarah being all Matrix in their shootout and their costumes, their bank robbing costumes.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. We had, I think the people who make Chuck like all the same movies and TV shows that we do.
Now I have a question. So after we have that just absolutely fun scene robbing the bank.
Mhm.
Why did they burn the money? Why didn't they have this really expensive wedding coming up? Maybe they should have saved it. I didn't get that. I mean, it gave us a kind of a nice moody setting for Vivian and Chuck to have that little talk, but couldn't figure out why they were burning that money.
Yeah, it's interesting because well, I guess they couldn't really.
They could have turned it over to the government.
Oh, I guess so. But if they were there in a more covert way, maybe they were under the radar of the government, and it would have raised flags if they were caught with it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It was just such a pointed visual of them burning the money, and there was no explanation for it. So I've been pondering that and haven't figured it out.
Yeah, and I just a little aside. A number of people stumble on plot holes of traveling to countries on the other side of the world and back to Los Angeles and then back to the countries and back. I think we should just explain that they have a jet that can go Mach 23.
It's the Volkov family jet.
Yeah, they have the Volkov family jet that they can use that goes 10 times faster than any other jet. And so that explains about 99% of the plot holes. So just pretend that they have a really, really fast jet to travel to these places.
And time zones. Don't forget the time zones.
Yeah.
Makes a difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had some wonderful moments with Morgan again. I love the Renaissance people coming in. I thoroughly enjoyed that. We have a Renaissance fair that happens every year right down the road from me. And I used to go many years ago when it first began, and it was nothing more than, cardboard fronts. Now they're whole buildings, and the county owns it, and it's all ridiculous now. But back then, it was a lot of fun. So to see these people come in, it cracked me up. Just cracked me up. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had some nice moments with Ellie and Sarah.
Yes, did.
And I'm really appreciating those little things, because those are the things that gradually transform Sarah's character. And without those, her transformation, I don't think would be believable.
I agree.
But I love that place that Ellie's taking in her life.
I really love that they're following up what they talked about in Cat Squad. They're, she said, "I will help you with the wedding. We can talk if we need to talk." And so she's helping with the wedding. They're laying that groundwork. They're showing that bond, and I'm very, very happy that we're doing that finally. And it's Sarah's. I say finally because it's something I've been hoping and looking for a while, but really, Sarah's only just now at the place where she is able to be in that kind of a relationship with Ellie, where she's able to open up. And, she was friendly, of course, with Ellie, but I think she's only now at a place where she can really bond with her. So I say finally, but in the context of the story, it makes sense.
Yeah. Now, overall, this last week's episode and this week's episode were technically set up episodes. There were a number of things being set up. One of them, of course, a big one, is Vivian's little jaunt over to the dark side. Another big one is Casey and the mysterious bunker.
Up to.
Yeah, which and specifically that device that Morgan knew the name of.
The TR-475.
Yeah, like this, we don't know what that device does yet, but what would it do that is so significant and so secret that he was so protective of Morgan telling anybody about it. We've got Morgan, for I don't know what reason he would move into Casey's apartment when he's dating his daughter. I mean, that's just inviting trouble.
Not thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Not thinking ahead.
Keep your friends close. Keep your daughter's boyfriends closer.
I don't know. I did like that he leveraged, which of course is code for blackmail, Casey into letting him do that.
Yeah.
Getting bold, our generously bearded man.
Yeah. And then we very sadistically didn't get a promo. And sadistically don't have Chuck next week. So we have 2 weeks to wait for Chuck and no promo. I'm guessing that's because NBC wants to promote the tar out of the event, which is 2 hours next Monday, 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, which I do urge you to watch it. Support the event. It's a great show. But I'm guessing that they're going to promote the tar out of the event and then promote the tar out of Chuck's return. Guess.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so.
We're going to need it because it comes back the day after Daylight Savings Time switches.
Yeah.
But yeah. If they run some promos during the event's big launch, I'll forgive them for not giving us this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That would be a good route to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that's about it to discuss, other than the fact that Ray Wise was delightful.
I was a little worried he was only going to have that one scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were getting towards the end of the episode, and I was like, wait a second, what happened to the lawyer? And then there he came. Dun, dun, dun.
He was
spreading lies.
Perfectly cast in that role.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that bad.
Mm-hmm.
He does bad real good.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I think that it's going to really, really heat up in the next couple of episodes. You can't do 3 setups in a row. It goes set up, heat up. And that's what's going to happen next time.
I think so. Yikes. Let's talk about that in the spoiler section.
Good idea. And speaking about spoilers, we're going to do what we've done the last few weeks, last couple of weeks anyway. And since you've had the helpful reminders in the bottom corner as we've been talking, we won't do our concluding announcements that we used to do. So we do urge you to listen to the sponsors, which are going to happen right now. And then at that point, after the sponsor messages, if you don't want to hear the spoilers, you can pull out your headphones or press stop. But if you do want the spoilers, just roll on through and we'll see you on the other side. But make sure you watch Chuck live 2 weeks from now. Doesn't matter what daylight savings time says, Chuck is on. And watch live and spread it on Facebook and spread it on Twitter and send out emails and call your family and picket the streets. Let's get that 1.7 higher for the next time Chuck airs.
Yeah.
But until then, see ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
And now we want to thank our sponsors, ielabs.com, makers of award-winning Action Blue AVC HD conversion software, which authors full HD videos on regular DVD discs. It even works with HD clips from the newest iPhone 4. You can get your free trial of the software at ielabs.com. We also want to thank moviemorons.com for supporting Chuck versus the podcast. Movie Morons is a podcast all about film. So if you are inclined to find out what movies you should be watching this fall, check out moviemorons.com. And SyrianJunkies.de. We want to thank them for supporting us as well.
Hello, this is Christina Caramel from Serienjunkies TV. Are you addicted to TV shows? Be our guests and learn the latest news and reflections on what's going on in the world of TV series. Well, our show is in German, but maybe you want to drop in anyway? Then visit www.serienjunkies.de and watch out for our video podcast. See you.
Spoiler warning. And we're back with the spoilers. Mel, what have you got for us?
Well, I have Basil back with us again because he just cannot resist. Was commenting on him, and so he's back. And actually, he was clawing my leg, so I just decided to grab him. But we have the official synopsis for Chuck episode 418, which is the one that comes when Chuck returns on Monday, May 14th. It's this one. Chuck versus the A-Team. Chuck fears that Casey has a secret that may split up the team. Robin Givens is back. Stacy Keibler and Isaiah Mustafa guest star. Yay!
Mm. Greta.
Two favorite Gretas. Chuck and Sarah investigate when they suspect that Casey is carrying out private missions. Wait a minute. He already told them that he was.
Yeah.
They're good spies. Right on, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Chuck fears that the CIA's seemingly perfect new operatives, Isaiah Mustafa and Stacy Keibler, will render him obsolete.
Mm.
Elsewhere, Morgan settles in with a new roommate, and Awesome panics when Ellie embarks on a potentially dangerous line of research.
Dun dun dun.
I know. What could it be? Is the laptop back in play?
I don't
Scott
know.
Prince, Vic Sahai, and Bonita Federici also star.
Yeah, what would make Awesome panic? I mean, that is huge.
Yeah.
Well, getting too close to the spy world again. Remember what he told Chuck? That
Yeah.
he doesn't want her anywhere near it. And he was upset when she was working on a laptop and he found out what it was about.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Very interesting.
on back in.
Yeah.
Talk about heating things up. That
Mhm.
would do it.
Yep. And we're going to maybe find out what Casey's up to.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. I'm dying to know what's going on in the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Well, looking ahead, we've obtained the casting call for Chuck episode 4.21, titled Chuck versus the Wedding Planner. This has nothing to do with Jennifer Lopez and Matthew McConaughey.
Mercifully so.
They will not be on this episode. It was an episode written by Rafe Judkins and Lauren LaFranc. I'm sorry, Lauren. Woo. I'll take my little fuzzy thing with me now. Lauren LaFranc.
The wedding planner in question is one Daphne Peralta, a fashionable, fit, smart, sexy woman in her 30s or 40s who sport a New Jersey accent. She's planning a wedding for the daughter of a Hungarian nuclear scientist, Dr. Klug, who happens to work for Iran. His sons Bruno, Franz, and Polly are also nuclear scientists working for Iran. But wait, who's the bride? Who's the bride?
Dun 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 dun.
Bruno, Franz, and Polly. Sounds like mafia to me.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hungarian mafia.
Yeah.
Shout for them.
And in related news, of course, relating to all this wedding talk, Gary Cole is confirmed to return as Sarah's father, Jack Burton. He'll return in episode 421, Chuck versus the Wedding Planner. And as per Chris Fedak, we have a con at the heart of the Jack episode, obviously. There are actually multiple cons. We definitely put Chuck and Sarah out there. They could potentially get in a lot of trouble, given that they are government employees and that Jack has spent his life flouting the law. Getting mixed up with Jack again will prove to be a challenge for the duo, personally and professionally. Fedak was also asked whether we'll see Mama Walker, or Burton, or whatever her name is on the show, but he didn't want to make any promises about that happening this season. You can read more from Fedak about all these storylines and a Chuck Sarah wedding at TV Squad. Oh, wow. So we have a bunch of episodes left, but all this talk of the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's actually only in 21. I'm used to thinking of 21 being the penultimate episode, but there's actually three more after that. Yeah. So makes me wonder about where we're building to.
I'm so excited that Gary Cole's going to be back.
Yeah.
We were hoping.
Yeah. But you can tell that it's just going to heat and heat and heat and heat up over the next run of episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's going to be exciting.
This episode is confirmed as airing on April 25th. So it looks like we will have a break probably the first couple of weeks in April.
Mm-hmm.
Or, mid-April, before we really kick it into gear to finish off the season in May.
Yeah.
May sweeps.
Yep. So get yourself psyched for that. Find a marathon of something else that you can do in that break. Because I know they're painful.
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, we do not get 52 episodes of Chuck a year.
Yeah. Well, and especially because that is right around the time where all the announcements of Renewal start happening. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to be a nervous time.
Yeah. But Gary Cole!
I know.
Yeah, but Gary Cole. And you know what? Doesn't matter what bad news is out there. Gary Cole.
Yes, he's the answer.
That's good news.
Right.
Yeah.
That and the little lamb.
Yeah. So that's all we have for this week. We hope you enjoyed our extended discussion about the ratings and all the other Chuck stuff going on. And we will not have a podcast next week because there's no Chuck next week. But we will be back the following week, and we might even start releasing these podcasts earlier. I'm going to try. My work is finally winding down, so might be able to release a little earlier. But until then, have a great Chuck couple of weeks.
We'll see ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.